Good morning, everyone. It's Lee Henson, President and Founder of Agiledad. It's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand-Up. So without any further ado, let's get started. Today, I wanted to talk to you about Agile Transformation. Now, one of the interesting things is that when I engage as a coach or as a trainer with different organizations, they always have different speeds at which they want to implement Agile. Some of them are saying, I want to implement Agile. I want to get everything right from A to Z, and I want to make sure we take our time and get it right. Other organizations come in and they say, we hope to get all the basis of Agile, all the foundation done in the next 30 days. And then we hope to expand from there. And even sometimes incredibly large organizations come in and say, our forecast is that we should be a completely Agile organization within the next year, within the next 3 years. So the question becomes, how do we systematically pace ourselves so that we're not overshooting or undershooting our goals? How do we get to the point where we're consistently getting to that Agile finish line without outrunning or falling over our own 2 feet, right? We each have to have a different pace at which we move. And I know that sounds crazy because you think agility, sprint, right? But it's not always a sprint. Sometimes the Agile transformation process is more closely related to a marathon than it is a sprint at all. So you need to have 4 key factors that you need to measure or figure out in order to adapt, or in order for you to really get your head around the pace that you should be moving. And I keep using the word pace for a reason. It's an acronym. So the first letter in PACE is P, and P stands for predictability. Now, this is where it gets interesting. It will take some time for your teams to adjust to not using time-based estimation and to be able to forecast and become predictable strictly only using size estimates. This should be an instant fix. The second you take time out of the equation, people's estimation should be better. And as soon as people's estimation is better, the more predictable you can become. The problem lies in that predictability is often or at least I should say required predictability, requested predictability is different within organizations. So some organizations might settle for 70% predictability. Others might demand closer to 100% predictability based on the type of product or service that you're buying. So this is something that over time gets better. I had a gentleman in my class who was a marksman, a sharpshooter from the military. And what he taught me was that if you can get reasonably close to the center of the target with most of your shots, that over time, he can help you hone in and become closer to perfect. And that makes sense to me when you talk about the difference between accuracy and precision and how predictable you need to be. So oftentimes I say set a baseline or a benchmark for where you are now and measure your predictability in terms of growth. How much more close do you become to the center of the target, right? The A in PACE stands for adaptability. And inspect and adapt are part of the empirical process. It's part of the Agile foundations. It's part of the fundamentals, the pillars of Agile, if you will. And I think part of adaptability is how willing are you as an organization going to be to change? How adaptable can you be to new things? Are you resistant to change? Are you inviting of change, but it's going to take some time? Obviously, organizations that are more resistant to change are going to take a lot more time to reach the adaptability goal that they need in order to help with an Agile transformation within the entire organization. So you need to measure adaptability. You need to figure that out. The C stands for convergence. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Once we identify the many different ways that we can do things, and we identify the many different ways that teams are operating, or many different ways that people are pacing themselves, we need to converge on what's going to work best. We need to come together on what techniques are going to work best for you as an organization and what ideas we hope to include so that we can be better at what we do. So once again, convergence is an important step, but it means that we need to take all the disparate ideas of ways to do things, and we need to come to some baseline or foundation. Now, I want to be careful to point out, it doesn't mean that everyone has to be doing the exact same thing. When I'm talking about convergence, I'm talking about converging on a closer model. I'm talking about bringing things together. I'm talking about helping people to establish the baseline so that we can grow from there, right? And then finally, the E stands for emergence. Here's the deal. Once your organization identifies what's going to work, it's important for you to immerse yourself, to get deeply rooted in those things. and to break through some of your old practices and to emerge out of the other side as successful. I think that emergence means that we're not afraid to try new things, but then come out of it successfully or unsuccessfully, understand our results, and really emerge as a thought leader, as an agile leader, as a system leader. And I think that it's just when you discover those four things, that's what's going to help you understand where you are in your, how should I put it, in your roadmap, if you will. Or I shouldn't call it a roadmap. I should call it more of a transformation guide, a circular, if you will. I keep getting this vision in my head of a Venn diagram where the circles all need to converge, right? But it's more like the Olympic rings. And I think that our goal is to get some balance so that we can make sure that we understand these, but we might all be in different places. So I think it's important for us to measure our organization and to measure our teams and to figure out the right path to get from one end to the other. And pacing yourself is important. Ask anyone who's ever run a long distance race or a marathon. If you don't pace yourself, you're setting yourself up for failure. So it's important for organizations to really understand that pacing has more to do than just running, right? It's not all about running. I think too many organizations come in with the attitude that I'm going to sprint all the way through, and they end up falling and becoming injured along the way. And then they end up giving up on Agile as part of the reason why, they say that sprinting just wasn't for them. So I hope that you took away something of value. I hope this was useful to you. As always, we encourage you to visit agiledad.com where you can learn more about this topic and others. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.